All right. I hope I can record this proper way and express my opinion in the right way. I got a Paccar part over here. It's a used part, and this is a EGR. So, it's the people who watch me, you guys know I work for UPS, and we do have a lot of Paccar's engine and a lot of Cummins CNG, which is natural gas. I don't work much up in the CNG, here and there a little bit. It's kind of new for me, but I do work a lot with Paccar. So I hope this thing's recording right. So there's two coolant lines going in the EGR valve. This EGR valve's bad. When you turn it and it rebounds, it has like a almost like a stuck U-joint, kind of like a catches on something. So there's a pigtail with four, so one of them power, the other one is be a ground, I believe so, and two are call-out wires. Don't quote me, I'm not sure exactly how that works. This thing costs $3,000, and truck will run without it just fine. The truck behind me does not have any of this stuff. This is a truly emission BS. Look at the soot inside of it. So that you recycle back to the intake. I don't understand how, if you recycle your exhaust back in, somehow end up coming out it cleaner of the stack. Yes, you kill some sort of gases or you reburn them, whatever. But the problem is what I see with this emission bullshit. I might use F words on this video. It is absolutely insane for a small carrier, if you have 1, 2 to 3 to 5 trucks, because nowadays when we run into the problem with these trucks, they don't have a really big problem with internal mechanical failing. It's everything outside. Paccar is actually a really good engine. They have literally no issues internally if you do proper maintenance on it. But everything besides that, it fails tremendously because they have tremendous amount of sensors. And the things that fail is the most expensive things. For the example, like this EGR, you have a back pressure valve, which I just changed it. I will tell you guys a little story on this truck where this thing come out of. Because the big corporations, or the politics, I will get into politics, somehow they approve this, FMCSA or EPA, whatever who's in charge of it. And since it's been approved and the manufacturer knows it will create a problem, for them is making money. You know, me as being a mechanic in an ex-owner operator or small carrier, whatever it is, I would never, unless I really have to, buy this kind of engine. I'm not, like, once again, it is very good engine, but everything's hanging on it, it fails tremendously. And it's one thing it fails, and if it would be reasonable on pricing for the parts and maintaining. But like in my previous video, it says you cannot work on the Paccar or Cummins or Detroit or Volvo if you don't have some sort of data readers so you can get to pull the codes and trying to do research. You literally dead in the water if you don't have any kind of scanner. And Paccar, it becomes very secretive. For some reason, they're using some sort of Davy system, which is very complicated, and there's nothing on aftermarket, so the only one way you have to go buy it. So the dealer, Kenworth and Peterbilt, guarantee themselves a work, and they pushing this stuff. So once again, like I said before, if you planning to upgrade your truck, buy a newer truck or brand new truck, you might want to do tremendous amount of research before you get in something that crazy. 2007, that's the last year I would buy, which now we're looking at, what is it? That it's pretty much 20-year-old truck. But I'm really strong believer to buy an older truck, spend money on it, fix it, and run it, and you'll be a lot more successful. The beauty of old trucks, when something breaks, it's very easy to diagnose. This thing, at least on my daily side, I'm not gonna be for sure, not 100%. There's not such testing for the EGR. You have to be a freaking scientist to figure out if this thing is broken until you take it apart and you try to swing this arm and you feel that little catch, and the computer catches and it says, I don't like it. So what will happen on your beautiful digital dashboard, it's gonna stop the engine, you will damage the engine, stop the engine, you will damage it. It is absolutely catastrophic deal. Seriously, it can be made to the shop, you can drive to the shop or something like that, but no, it will derate you, it will start beeping, honking, it will scream, it will shut the truck off and everything. Just because this thing decided not to open exactly if it called for 30% closure, or open this little valve right here. I don't know if the camera makes it, you see it, and if it's not in the right position, they think it will damage the engine. It will not damage the engine. It's going back to the corporate way they set up because the emissions priority. If you have an injector came apart and it's streaming fuel in it, that thing will not scream at you where you need to stop the engine because it's not a big deal. But this part will. Anyway, so there's a little pipe comes with it on the back side. And if anybody been, I don't have one right now, Paccar, I have one outside, but I'm not going to. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. So that's what this thing looks like. And the bolts to hold this pipe, it's actually come from this side. Usually this bolt is very hard to take it off, so if you do end up replacing it, don't afraid to heat this. As you can see, it's this color because I was heating it, to take those bolts off, because EGR itself comes just with this. And there's a gasket sandwiched between EGR and this whatever pipe. It's reusable, which is steel. And thank God, at least they give us a break on the gasket, which is reusable. They say not supposed to, I do it. And there's another gasket right here. It just came off. So you can actually reuse this. What I do to keep them in place when I'm installing it so they don't fall off, I use dielectric grease or any kind of grease just to glue it on there. For now, it will burn up. If they fail, there's no fix for them, because there's an electric motor and this thing runs really hot. So there's either bearing gets bearing or electric motor has like dead spots. So it's fairly easy to change it, in my opinion. There's coolant involved, there's clamps involved. It's just, the problem is it's so expensive. So I will go back into it. EGR, back pressure, DPF, all that system, it's kind of its own animal, beside, off an engine. So it can tell you it's your EGR problem, but it could be something else. It could be your back pressure valve. But the system works on a data bus, so they communicate between each other. And a lot of times, if you're not knowledgeable enough, which everybody came across, Dave, if you've been in trucking long enough, there's such term nowadays, just start throwing parts. Change this, didn't fix it, change this, didn't fix it, and so on, so on, so on. And who's the sucker in it? The guy who owns the truck. And me turning the wrench, being a mechanic now for UPS, I run into the same problem. Quite often, you're just clueless. You cannot figure out how the system works and what causes, so you start throwing parts in. Thank God I don't have to pay for it. And you're never going to be pro at it to fix the emission problem exactly so it works. There's always going to be a problem. You're always learning something new. Quite often there's a problem with the communications, and you're trying to figure out what's not communicating. Is it DPF system, high rail pressure, the engine, or PCM, or ECM, and so on and so on and so on. And it could be just a broken wire, and it will throw you numerous problems. Or, like in this scenario, EGR and the back pressure valve on this specific truck I replaced because it had an EGR code and was derating 25% after 4 hours of operating the truck, and then 1% every minute if you continue driving. And then the back pressure was out of calibration, but there is no option for the calibrate. So this thing's back pressure valve comes calibrated. So when it has a problem, it's the same thing. It was, sticky and it was moving quite hard. It becomes a mess. So on this specific project where this EGR came from, I spent on that truck roughly $6,000. I'm not the one who's spending money, it's just my personality. Anything I can reuse, even if I'm not paying for it, I will reuse it. Quite often, dealers trying to cover their butt and they will convince you to put everything new. They will make you to put this brand new pipe in. There's nothing wrong with this pipe, but we had one, so we put it on. But these things do like to break inside there, and then it will leak, and it will show EGR code, which it could be your pipe. Paccar is very hard to determine, to find exhaust leak, and they are very finicky. They absolutely should be zero exhaust manifold leak, like zero. If there's any slight leak anywhere, it will create a problem. I don't know why, because older engines, it seems like you will see a little bit with the exhaust manifold connected, there's always going to be some sort of leaks. These things should have zero, not a 1,000, absolutely zero. So, once again, I go back to it. I kind of lost track of what I was on this video, but I literally, truly, I quit trucking. My newest truck I had, it was a 2007 with a C15 Cat, which I rebuilt it. I ran, I had made a tremendous amount of power. And I kind of didn't experience much with this new technology, especially Paccar or Cummins. And these trucks, these engines, the truck will last. The engines will not last as long. So if you've been in trucking for a very long time, the usual rule of thumb is like, if you buy a brand new truck, you should drive that thing for 1,000,000 miles before you do anything to it, like major, like overhaul or anything like that. Like clutches, injectors, air compressor, alternator, run an overhead every 100,000 miles. I'm a strong believer in that. Miscellaneous stuff, like whatever's hanging, but nothing internally. These engines, you are very seldom you see where they're making 1,000,000+ miles. Unless they're in a very, very light duty, running miles non-stop. They've been really properly maintained. Speaking of maintenance, the oil manufacturing, telling you can go now 50,000 miles on an oil change. Seriously? The oil goes through hell because the engine's running hotter. We have EGR, which we recycle in combustion gases back into the intake. The coolant, trying to keep everything cool, the coolers become bigger and everything. I don't see how it's possible to make oil change 50,000 miles. The micron filters are better, whatever. I don't believe that because we're actually maximizing whatever you want to call it, everything off of oil and a coolant. Like the 500,000 miles on a coolant, I don't believe in that either. I think it should be changed once a year because cooling does tremendous amount of cooling now. In oil, I would not go past 15,000 miles. If you planning to keep the truck, you don't want to go past 15,000 miles. There is a reason because up to 2003, the standard warranty on the trucks, I'm pointing at this truck because this is older truck, this is 97. Up to 2003, the warranty of any kind of engines, I don't care, Cummins, Cat, so on, was 500,000 miles. That was a standard warranty. Now it's 250,000 miles or 200,000 miles or 3 years, whatever comes first. There is a reason, but yes, they will convince you our engine is better because you only have to change oil 60,000 miles, so they get you on the hook, they think it's more efficient. Did fuel efficiency really went up? Speaking of that, I don't see it. So UPS, once again, well, I can see the data what the trucks are getting for fuel mileage. Yes, they shut them off, they're in the short distance and everything. But it's 5.7, 6.1 on a longer, distance, like they get in the truck and they will drive 60 miles and then they stop and go back and forth between the towns. But I didn't see a single one was doing like 8, 9, what they promised they're supposed to be more fuel efficient. So all this emissions BS, it's obviously for cleaner environment, I'm all for it, but I think it's a lot of easy way to do it. And it's make you sick because the people who designed this, they literally designed this for themselves, for the corporate greed, in my opinion. And who else benefits from it? Mechanics. Like literally mechanics benefits from it. If I would own the independent shop, I would do tremendous amount of study and stuff like this, and I could charge money off of it because the owner operator, the guy who only wants to drive a truck, he has no choice but start sticking with it. Or option number 2, to buy older equipment, spend tremendous amount of money on it, which I still believe it's cheaper, and have fun with it because it's gonna be a hell of a lot more reliable. I think that's all what I got. I'm really frustrated with this BS amount of parts, how expensive it is. And for being an owner operator prior to my career now, it is very, very expensive to operate that business. And everybody expects you to hold stuff for free or very cheap, almost free. Thanks for watching.